let's talk about the UV texture editor. The UV texture editor, as we saw last time, is a panel. It's a window that you can open it separately from here. Window, UV texture editor. So if you have two screens, I like working with a dual screen setup, so I can have my texture editor on the other screen and I can work on separately on this editor. The UV texture editor is an orthographic view. It works like an orthographic view. It's not a perspective view. But since we have one screen here, I'm going to close it. I'm going to use the split screen, this double screen layout, and instead of the outliner, I'm going to replace the outliner with the UV layout window. So I go to the panel, UV texture editor. That way I can work, because I definitely need the perspective on my side here, on my right side, because that way I can understand where everything is. Also, it's a good thing to use the wireframe unshaded, so we can see the wireframe. I'll turn off the grid. So I have my object over here, and I'm going to do an automatic mapping. So I'm going to go to Create UVs, go to Automatic Mapping. By default, the planes, the projection planes, are 6. That's good. That's perfect for boxes, for boxy objects. Even for a head, for a character, 6 is more than enough. So 6 is fine. I'm just going to go and project. So I get 6 planar. We're actually getting 6 planar projections. That's what we told Maya to do, like try to make 6 projections on this tray. So we break it down to all these projections. Right now it's broken apart in this window, and there's a gray, light gray color behind it. That means that is actually the material that we have on the object. So if I go object mode and select it, you can see that that gray color is in the back of this corner, right corner up here. If you want to take this off so you can see clearly what's going on in the background, so we have the Maya color behind, you can take the texture off. So you click this and you take the material out of the way. Whenever you want to bring it back, you just click on this icon here and you get it back. So this is only for a display mode. So now I'm going to start looking at this object, and I'm going to put the puzzle together in the UV layout texture editor. So I'm going to go to my UV, select this UV. So I'm going to start with this edge. So it's really hard to like go into the UV texture and like do it blindfolded. So we might need reference from the 3D object. So I'm going to select these series of vertices. Let's see. So those are basically this part over here and this over here. So these are like these two surfaces here. They share the same edge. That's why we find them over here in the UV texture editor. We have the same edge being split in two. That's like quite normal. So let's get the first piece. Let's get this one. So I'm going to select only these 4 vertices, or any vertices, any UVs. Sorry, I'm going to select randomly some UVs from this part, and I'm going to hold down the control key, and then right-click to shell. So that selects the whole shell of UVs. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to move it here in the working area. This here area is like infinite. It's just a working zone. You can work and like stitch stuff in this neutral zone, and then you can bring it back to this box when you're done. So let me also rotate this. I'm going to rotate it so we can see it straight. So we have a front view of this piece. So we need to stitch this piece with that piece. So I'm going to go all the way around, stitching all these together. So I'm going to go and select now the edges. So I'm going to select these edges and look at and see where I find the other piece. So the other piece is over here. You can see that the edge is selected on this is the sharing edge. So I'm going to go to UVs, select the UVs, control to shell, bring this piece over here, rotate it, and now go and select the edges. So I'm going to select these edges, and notice that if I select this edge, the shared edge is being selected also. So I'm going to go polygons, move, and sew UV edges. So now this is sewn together. It's glued. I'm going to do the same for this part. So let's go ahead and select the vertices here. So the UVs are over here. So I'm going to select the UVs. Hold down the control key to shell. Bring this piece over here.
So you select the vertices from an actual object?
Yeah.
To find out where that is?
I'm selecting the UV from the 3D object over here, and I'm going back to my UV texture editor and look at where the UVs correspond to the UV texture editor, and I see that they're like shared through 3 objects here. This UV here connects 3 surfaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 actually. So all these this object up here, this surface up here, this surface on the side, and this surface on the other side are all sharing 1 point. So basically, when I select this point, I will find 1, 2, 3, 3 in this case, because this is all glued together. Depending on how they broke apart when we did the planar projections, that's how you end up in more UVs in the UV texture editor than the 3D object. So does that make sense? Yeah. So now I need the UV for this part. So I'm just gonna go and select the UVs on this part and move them up here. So select the edges. The second step is to select the edges. So we want to glue these edges together. Let's bring all these UVs down here. I don't really need to do that, but it's better just to have them closer. And go polygons and sew UV edges. So I have these parts glued together. But notice that this is becoming like a very long piece. It won't be able to fit in this area that well. But we'll try to see how we can break it apart later. So UV selected. We have one more piece to get it all done. So that would be over here. Select the UV. We need this piece over here. So that piece is that one. Control to shell, bring it over here next to the piece that we're putting together, and then select the edges. Now if I select these edges, it's not a good idea to select all these, because if I go and say move and sew UV edges, you'll see that other parts are going to come and get affected by this operation, because I selected this sharing edge, but I also by accident selected more edges that refer to other pieces that are over here. That's not a good idea. So if you want to exclude edges that are randomly in that area, I suggest you go to Edge and hold Control and deselect anything from here, so it's not gonna just jump into and get glued with this piece that we don't want to right now. So polygons, move, and sew UV edges. So I'm done with this part. Basically, like this part it might be too long, so we might break it apart again later, but I want to organize it first before I break it. That means that I'm going to start bringing that thin, this lip, and I'm going to bring it in and stitch it up here. So we need to bring this part. So this UV over here is part of that lip, that thickness. And where is that? That's over here. Okay, let's do that. To shell and bring the whole piece out. Notice that this is the way that Maya created this. Let's see. Get rid of that for a second. So it has all this thickness, all this lip, it's all glued together. But maybe we don't want it to be glued together. We want to break it apart and then put it just piece by piece on this part over here, on the top of it. So what I can do is go and find the edges. So I'm going to select these edges here, the connecting edges. With the Shift key, select the connecting edges, and go ahead. I'm going to go polygons, cut UV edges, and now what happens is if I go to my UVs and select with the Control key, then I get this broken apart piece. So I broke this piece so I can put it together and in a different arrangement. The best thing to do right now is to actually go ahead and stitch it on each of these like pieces should be stitched up on the on these like faces. So I'm going to select the UV and so I select these edges and notice that this belongs to that piece over there. Okay, so I'm going to get the UV, move it over here, and find out what goes where. So edge. So this edge belongs to that edge. So basically I'm going to select these UVs. And let's rotate them and move them. And I'm going to select all these edges. And do the same thing. Move. So that moves and gets glued up here. The same with all the other parts. So let's look at these edges here. This belongs over to that side. Also, when I bring it here, I'm going to select the edge and see what's actually. See, it's the opposite, the other way around. So I have to select the whole piece and move it, rotate it 90 degrees until I get it right. And select all these edges and do the same. Move and glue them together. So I'm going to glue that piece over here. So edge, move. And notice I can actually go and glue these too. So I can do the same here for those. So